My name is Selwyn. I'm the president of Alpha, and I run the development group at Alpha. And what I'm going to be talking about today are JSON forms, which is a fairly new addition to Alpha. And I'm going to be talking about what JSON forms are and what the benefit of JSON forms are. So I thought that before we dive into JSON forms, it might be useful to just basically do a quick sort of recap on what JSON is and how Alpha makes it easy to work with JSON. There are two XBasic commands that are sort of the essential building blocks for JSON. There's JSON generate and JSON parse, which allow you to basically take an XBasic variable and turn it into JSON, or conversely take a JSON string and turn it into XBasic variable. So let's go here to the interactive window, and I'll just type here, say dim p as p dot first equals, and then p dot, excuse my typing is really bad. So you'll see here that what we've done is we've taken this XBasic dot variable and we've turned it into a JSON string by using JSON generate of p. And if we want to go the opposite direction, let's go here and say text equals, and then if I go here and say dim s as p, and then s is equal to JSON underbar parse of text. So now we've got this dot variable called s, and if we go question mark s dot first name, we'll see it says Steve. So in a sense, what we've done here is we've gone from an XBasic dot variable to JSON, and then from the JSON string back to an XBasic dot variable. In other words, we've done a round trip, and the JSON generate function in Alpha is very powerful. So it deals with nested arrays and with nested objects as well. And similarly with the JSON parse, you can you can pass any arbitrary JSON string. And then to look at a dot variable in JSON format, or to look at JSON in JSON format, we've got this show var JSON of text. So there is the JSON viewer. So show var is used to open a window to show the contents of a string, but show var JSON formats the JSON in a nice, easy to understand way. So that's sort of a quick primer on what JSON is. And now let's talk about JSON forms. So JSON forms are essentially built using JSON, and they create data that is JSON format. So let's go and create a brand new UX component right now. So I'm going to go here and let's go back to this project, and I'll go here and I'll create a brand new UX component. And one of the controls that you can add to your UX component is something called a JSON form over there, and I'll just call it JForm. So the JSON form is just a single control in the UX, just like the list control is, but there's a rich builder for the JSON form. So if I open up the builder, I can add controls to the JSON form. So let's go here and add in some controls. So I'll say data controls, text box, and then I'll go here and I'll type in, say, first, last name, address, state, and zip. And then press OK. You'll see the JSON form has been filled out right now. And currently, we've basically got a line break after each field, and we've said the size of that field is flex 1, which means it's going to take up the entire line. So let's go ahead now and run this in working preview. So you can see that when we get to the form view here, we have a form with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 controls. But over here, we only have a single control in the UX component. So we'll come back to the JSON form builder, but what I'd like to point out is some benefits of the JSON form. So I'm going to go here to the web control panel and then just go to this project over here. And I've got two login forms here. So these login forms come from the Alpha Genie in the security framework. So when you build a project and you turn on the security framework, you can use a Genie to create components for you. So if we go look at this component, this is a default login form. You'll see that this uses the traditional way of building an app, which is individual controls. So if we go and we run this component, you'll see it's a login component, and you can see we can either log in using user ID, password, Google, Cognito, or Firebase. But if we go and look at the design of this component, we see that this component is made up of 72 individual items in the tree. So now if we go to the JSON form version of this, we'll see that the same component is only uses 8 controls. So it's a much lighter weight control. And if we run it now, you'll see it behaves and looks very similar to the traditional JSON form. So there's my form, AWS Cognito, Firebase, etc. And you can see if we tap there, we have the label that automates, that animates to the top. And if we go to look at the JSON form itself, we'll see here that it's designed over here. So this is the JSON form definition. So we are using JSON forms in Alpha as well. Like for example, if we go to Transform over here, this is the Transform app running on Alpha Cloud right now. And the two places where we use JSON forms are for defining user preferences and account preferences. So here is user preferences. Not sure why it's taking so long. I don't know if it's because we're in a, because this is the same issue that Sean was having with Alpha Cloud was acting really slow. And I don't know if it's because we're in a go-to meeting. So I'm going to just ignore this and come back to it later, and I'll go back to Alpha right now, and let's go back to JSON forms. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is why JSON forms are in the data control section over here. So the data control section is a list of all of the controls in Alpha that are data bound. And in particular, these controls that are in the data section, they support the get value and set value methods. So let's go and take a look at that. So I'm going to go back to JSON forms here, and then I'm going to go to get value over here, and then go and run this. So you'll see that we have a JSON form over here that's got Fred Smith as default values. Then I'll go here and type in Boston, and then I'll say here get value. So you'll see that this is the value of the JSON form control. So it has a get value method, and there's the data that comes back from the JSON form. So this is just regular JSON that Alpha can work with very easily. And if I go here and I change this from Boston to say, and then I use the set value method, watch this Boston change there. So this is basically using the get value method and the set value method, which automatically get the value and set the value of a JSON control, just like any other control that's in the data bound sections of the UX Builder. But instead of doing the entire form, you can also do individual fields. So let's go here and get the value of the city field. So I'll go there and do that, and that's LA. And then if I go here and set this to say NY, and then say set the city field, you can see we just set the individual field. So if we go and look behind the scenes now at the code for the get value, you'll see what we do is we say JSON form. So that's basically, it just means that we're talking to a JSON form. This is the name of the JSON form, JForm, and this is the field that we want to read. So this is how we can read and write individual controls in a JSON form. So there we have, here we're doing a get value, and then here we're just setting the value of the text box to the value from the JSON form. And then this is the entire form at once. So this is going to return a JSON string, and this over here is an individual field value. So that's an individual field value over there. So let's go take a look at some other JSON forms over here. So one of the things that's really nice about JSON forms is that they are completely responsive. So let's take a look here at this control. So here's a JSON form, and if we look at this JSON form, we can see that we've got first name and last name on the same line, and they are flex 1 each, which means that they are the same width. Then we have address on a line by itself. Then we have city, state, and zip on a line by themselves. And we have city being flex 3, which means that city is going to be 3 times the width of the state field, and zip will be 2 times